Hello everyone, this is James Shore with another test-driven JavaScript video. I'm recording this on April 9th, 2013, picking up right where we left off in the last episode. What we're working on in this chapter is taking our Node.js server code and migrating it to use a third-party library. And this has turned out to be way more annoying than it should have been. I was hoping that this would be done in one episode, maybe two, but as always seems to happen when I work with third-party code, it doesn't work right. And I've had to do all this crazy stuff. I edited the node static code directly so that I could fix a caching behavior. Now, you might argue that the way I'm trying to use the way I'm abusing the file system is why this is failing, but that is exactly the point. Unless you're using the third-party code exactly the way it's intended, you end up with all kinds of screwy issues. Now, I could have worked around this. So the issue here was that node static, the static file library I decided to use, is it caches all of your files. And inside of our tests, we're actually writing out different files at different times, and that interacts with the caching in a very bad way, causing the program to return bad data. It returns a different result for content length than it does for the actual content. So, it crashes the tests. That is a problem. Now, you could argue that I should just not return different files, but the problem is that now, especially since the error message was really cryptic, it was parse error, now you've got this time bomb in your system. You have to remember never that this is cached, and has to be used very carefully, otherwise it will break. And at the risk of running into a couple of hours of improvements every time, or a couple of hours of troubleshooting every time that you deal with that, maybe even more than a couple of hours. So I fixed the problem. I made the caching work on a object basis. So every instance of the server has its own cache, and that solved the issue for now. It is working. I'm not really thrilled with that solution overall, though, because now we can't upgrade. If we upgrade node static with npm, then that change will disappear, I presume. And it's another thing that has to be remembered. You can just assume that anything that you have to remember in your code base that you will forget. Especially, we're talking about long-term maintainability in a team environment, right? So you're not going to communicate it to your other team members. You're not going to remember it in a couple of years. So stuff relying on memory is not good. So I think what I'd like to do here is migrate to a different tool. And what I'm thinking is we'll use send, which forms the basis of Express's, send is what Express and Connect use. So let's see if we can get that in there. I think it's going to be pretty straightforward. We'll install send. And let me make a note here to uninstall node static. And in their server, we should be able to say acquire send, and then let's just do it the exact way he's got it here. Got our server created. Yeah, I think we can just say send request.url root content-dir pipe response. And that should work for everything except our 404, I think. Let's see what happens. Yeah, our 404 didn't work. And that's good. So now what we need to do is say on air we'll handle error. And I'll just do that right here for now. And handle error is going to take our error And the error gives us a status. So we'll say error.status equals 404. Basically do the same thing, except I don't see an easy way to just send the file back. Let's see what we can do about that. Maybe I'll just grab the code that we used to have here. Yeah, let me just grab that code. The problem here is that now we've got the same issue as before. No, actually, I think this will be okay. I was going to say that we're not handling all of the different cases that we need to handle, but I think it's okay. So here we will send the not found page to serve. This is not as clean as I was hoping. The node static stuff is actually cleaner in a sense, but there's the problem of all that caching and doing our manual modification of it. Yeah. Well, let's see what happens. By the way, this throw error is really bad form, but as I said, we're not bulletproofing this yet, so it's okay for now. Couldn't find it. I'm assuming that's because we didn't tell it to look in the content directory. Yeah, that's good. And we'll need to set the status code. And there we go. Wow. That was painful. That was really painful. I've been through the effort of implementing an HTTP server before, and believe me, we don't want to do it. But, oh yeah, it's just... You really, if you're going to use, I mean, these are just libraries. They're not even frameworks, but they really want you to conform to their way of doing things. Well, I think we've got this thing working. Let's rename this to serve error file. That will come in handy in the future, I'm sure. And we'll pass in the status code here. And take that out there. Means we can turn this into a one-liner. I'm really not happy with the code we've done in this chapter. I guess it's working, but it just feels so like it's been such a hack. But maybe I've recorded these all in a row, so I haven't really had a chance to get some distance on it. Maybe it's not as bad as it seems from here, but oh man, what a what a nightmare. Yeah. Okay, let's check this in. And I am going to go ahead and uninstall node static. Okay, what's next? Let's clean up our tests, and let's actually write a test for the specific thing that we are trying to do here, which is serving multiple files. And I think the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to really quickly go through, clean up these tests, and add a test case for serving another file. So, and I'll probably just fast forward through this or something like that. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up so that it does all the file creation and setup. If I'd done this before, I wouldn't have caught that issue with with node static, and that I guess would have been okay, but I'm glad I did catch it. Okay, now that that's cleaned up, I can move this up here and take this out. And actually, let's go ahead and put this in here too. And now we can do the same thing for that. And before I put in that test I wanted, the other test, I'm going to go ahead and clean up these names. So it serves, let's say it returns 404 when file does not exist. This is, it returns homepage when asked for index. Return serves, yeah, let's say serves homepage from directory. Serve files from directory. We're going to have a new test for supports multiple files. And it serves index.html when asked for homepage. Now there's additional stuff I could test here like subdirectories, but since we don't have to do anything special to support that, I'm not going to worry about it. I think it's good enough. So this should all still work, except for our missing semicolon. And now let's get that final test in here. Okay. I think that does it. All right, so we've added our test for multiple pages. Which means that now when we run form and start, we should be all set. When we load this up, it will, yes, it loads all of our files. Doesn't work yet. That was to be expected though. There's something else wrong. And that's what we'll get to in the next chapter. So that brings us to the end of this little chapter on migrating to third-party code. It demonstrated all the things I hate about third-party code so well. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching, everybody. Next time, what we're going to do is we have finished getting this to the point where it supports multiple files. Now we need to update the smoke test to include client-side code. And we also need to fix our HTML so that it serves, so it runs our drawing code correctly. So that's the end of this chapter. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. I will catch you next time.